Welcome to the Emerging Lawyer series at the Coffee Conversation Show, powered by the Emerging India Forum TIF and a tech partner, Prime Infotech Solution. This is a special episode as we're celebrating Ganesh Chaturthi. Uh, we have with us our guest speaker, Anshul Anjarlekar, partner at Raval-Shah Company, who brings years of hands-on experience in litigation, dispute resolution, and corporate advisory. Theme is navigating complex legal battles, partner perspectives with Anshul Anjalekar. From interning at top law firms to growing into a partner role at a leading firm, Anshul has shaped his career through strategic thinking, resilience, and a passion for justice. With a strong academic foundation from Government Law College, GLC, and a specialized diploma in cyber law, Anshul represents the new generation of lawyers who blend traditional practice with modern legal innovation. Join us as we explore his professional journey, insights on legal practice in India, and what it really takes to thrive as a young partner in today's competitive legal landscape. And we also understand Anshul as a person. So, welcome, Anshul.
Thank you. Thank you to having me on this show.
So, let me explain you. There are three rounds: professional, personal, and a surprise rapid fire round where you will be in the hot
Oh,
seat. And here's a gift: Legal AI 101. So,
all
let's
right.
begin. So, friend, I'm Lion Amir Virani, host at Coffee Corner Legal Tech Evangelist at Prime Infotech Solution, author of 15 books. We help law firms, corporate legal, start basically world-class technology, software licensing, and tech training solutions. So, Anshul, how has the journey shaped up, and what were the key defining moments you had?
Correct. So to start with my law college journey, I'll just give you a brief what I'd done prior to getting into law. So I was a science pass out till my 12th standard, after which I shifted to commerce. And while pursuing my commerce degree with the KC College at Churchgate, I started pursuing my company secretary course. In the second level of the company secretary course, we had a subject of contract law. So that was my first encounter with law. Prior to that, I was never aware of any field, a separate field, which is, just dedicated for law students. Contract law gave me a brief overview between reality and books. Like the main overview of the Contract Act, if you see, it in a way connected me to the commercial aspect which we see in the real world. So that is when, for the first time, it struck me that I can pursue law. And after completing my graduation from KC, I gave the entrance exam, and that is when I entered GLC Law College. GLC, it was a completely different world as compared to KC because GLC had a blend of students coming from all over India. And for the very first time in 2016, we had introduced CET entrance exam for law students. Prior to that, it was only graduates getting into law. So when this entrance exam opened, we saw a lot of entries from different states coming into Maharashtra only to pursue law. And it was completely merit based. So only if you score good marks in your CET exams, you get entry to one of the top colleges in Maharashtra. So the level of competition, the level of students which were there in the first year of GLC, that introduced actual college life, and bring up challenges in the college, and that was a new phase which I'd never seen in my college journey in the KC Law College. As we started with our lectures, attending initial lectures in the first year, it was very competitive. Like if you see students performing, taking active participation in the lectures, classes, which was not the usual course which students from Mumbai followed prior to CET 2016. So that was a completely new thing for me. And from my first year onwards, I started doing internships. I roughly applied at 40 to 50 places. And that is how I started with my first internship. It was a small firm which used to handle trademark practice. And that was my first encounter with IPR law. After that, for a very brief period, I was working with ISS facility, which was a international corporation, and I was handling the risk department as an intern. Thereafter, I joined my present workplace, which is Raval-Shah Company, as an intern. This was a placement done through the GLC placement committee. And This initially it was supposed to be a 3 months internship, which turned out to be a 11-month internship, which I really loved. And that is the time where I got first-hand exposure to litigation. As I came from my CS background, I was really not aware that what actually litigation means. So the internship at this firm was very critical because it introduced me to courts, especially the High Court, the NCLT, the DRT, and the other civil courts which we have in our city. The 3 month internship, as I mentioned, turned into 11-month internship was because of the challenges which were there in litigation, and that somewhere gave me a confidence that okay, this is something which I can pursue in long term, and this is something which I really want to do. In my last year of law college, I got a offer from Lakshmi Kumaran and Sridharan, which is a tier 1 law firm. They had a opening in their commercial dispute team, and that is where I did a 6 months uh, assessment internship, as it is called, for fresh joinees or fresh associates to join after graduation. So after working at Lakshmi Kumaran and Sridharan, the ball game completely changed because there we handled big matters, huge clients, international clients coming forward for their dispute resolution in Mumbai. So that is the time where I got to work on really high stake matters, and that gave an exposure to a different level of litigation which we see in our courts. The only difficulty which I personally faced at LKS was that there was no personal appearance. Since it was a tier 1 firms, the stakes were high. We had to go with councils and the other stalwarts of our high courts. And that is why it was one experience which I got in briefing councils and learning from them. So, although there was no personal exposure which I got by appearing in courts, but there was an learning experience which I got by engaging counsels, by briefing them, and by reading the brief thoroughly. Because briefing a counsel is as equivalent to argue before a judge, because you need to be well versed with your page, para, pleadings, prayers, everything. So, that was one thing which I learned at LKS. And after that, because it was my dream, or it was my my desire to get into litigation and argue matters, I came back to Raval-Shah Company and joined there in October of 2019 as an associate. So this is how my journey brought me to law, and especially brought me to litigation.
Wow, beautiful. So let's dive deep into conversation. Anshul, how do you manage high pressure cases while maintaining client confidence?
So as I mentioned, the desire to do litigation, because in my initial years I was uh, confused, and rather I was more inclined towards having a lucrative job which would give you high paying salaries. There would be a fixed CTC. But one thing I learned in litigation, that in litigation there is no CTC, there is just court. You have to dedicate yourself to court, and the court will reward you. So in the 11-month rigorous internship period which I did at Raval-Shah Company, there were many challenges which came. And in fact, my first appearance before the High Court came before the came with the during my internship at Raval-Shah Company, when I was working as an intern. And there's an order passed by the High Court which mentions that Mr. Anshul Anjarlekar, intern working with Raval-Shah. This was a very extraordinary situation because there were rains in the city of Mumbai. It was completely flooded at that time in 2019, and the Chief Justice had passed a direction mentioning that no adverse orders should be passed. Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, but I was before Justice Sriram, and Justice Sriram at that point of time had a reputation for being very strict, and you had to be thorough with your papers when you appear before them. My senior at that point of time was held up before a division bench, and I had to take a passover or a keepback, how it is called in our High Court, for that one matter which was just reaching. I approached a few seniors who were there. I was just requested them that since I'm an intern, I cannot appear. Can you please keep back this matter for me, and I'll be grateful to you, because as an intern I cannot offer you anything else. Everybody refused because it was the reputation of Justice Sriram at that point of time. When the matter was called out, I appeared before the associate and told him that I'm an intern, I cannot appear. Please kindly request the judge to keep back the matter. He said no. The judge asked me that you come and stand in the witness box. I had to stand in the witness box, and it was really intimidating because the entire courtroom is looking at you. You are standing right next to Lordship Sriram, and you have to address. So Justice Sriram instantly asked me that, "What is this matter? Why have you filed this application?" So I went through that application. I read out the prayers, and it was against the official liquidator. He said that your application is rejected, but there he said that it takes a lot of guts for someone to come and stand in the courtroom and keep a password. Next time when you are interned, don't do such a mistake. So this was the warning, and this kind of gave me a thrill that, okay, because it was such a challenging situation, difficult situation, still in that situation I could hold up and get an order. Whether it was in our favor or not, that is a different concern, but at least that attempt which was made really gave me a positive boost in my career, and this is what I have carried forward in my journey. And that is why when litigation comes, it brings challenges, and challenges is something which really excites me. So while handling high pressure situation, I enjoy working in those situations, and I think I can perform much more better in such situations. So, for example, if there is a last minute filing or overnight draft which we have to do and file it and mention it next day in the court, that would give me much more thrill rather than preparing it for a week, then filing a suit, then taking client's approval. So, this is how I manage things at work, and this is how I enjoy my matters, especially when it is more challenging.
Wow. So, Anshul, how do you balance firm management as a partner with active client engagement?
Correct. So, right now, especially after COVID, there has been a lot of small firms coming up. And as you're aware, that 2020 brought a different uh, age in the high court proceedings or any other proceedings. Because of the COVID lockdown, it was the desire which was there in our system for virtual hearings. But to 2020 COVID, that pandemic brought a necessity that it was now high time that we get into a system for online appearance, online e-filing, and those sort of things. So this reform brought in a lot of firms which were outside the state of Maharashtra, were practicing in the state, and it was easily accessible for them also. So, as a partner, it becomes really difficult because you have a competition that you have to be careful with the client while giving them an opinion. You have to be careful with the client while giving them fee quotation, because if you quote such a fee which is not reasonable to the client, it is very possible that the client will go to and approach someone else. But at the same time, you have to look forward and maintain the reputation of your firm, because we are aware that we are providing a certain kind of service, we are providing you a certain kind of opinion, which will have to be matched with a certain price. So, client retention is something which you really have to be careful. And client retention actually is not that difficult if you are aware of what
Hmm.
kind of a service you are providing and what is your caliber.
Wow. Okay. So, Anshul, you also hold a diploma in cyber law. What made you go into doing a diploma in cyber law? My first question. Second one, how important is tech law knowledge for a modern legal practice?
Right. So I did my diploma in cyber law when I was pursuing my LLB from GLC. Thereafter, when I cleared that, I also did my advanced diploma in cyber law from the same institution. The motive behind that was, as law students, we were learning that the only act which is there was the Information Technology Act at that point of time. That act was not included in our syllabus. This diploma specified and gave a detailed explanation and a practical implication of what this acts are like, what kind of data security is there, what kind of breaches are there, what is the punishment for those breaches, and what is the need for improvising or amending that act. Tech law for modern lawyers, it is really important because be it a suit, be it a proceeding before the insolvency under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, there are a lot of evidence which are now used on the basis of electronic evidence. So, to understand it better, you need to be aware that, if, for example, if an email has come from a particular email ID, whether that email ID is genuine, how to track that email address, what is the IP address, whether you can actually trace down that this was actually sent by the opposite party, or whether it was sent by a client, or whether there is some kind of fraud which is there. So all these things a lawyer has to be aware. And cyber law, that course which I did on cyber law, it gave us various situation or study like material which was directly related with real life situations. And there was the written exam which we had was completely based on 50% situation like questions. And that is something which, helped me in my law colleges to think practically.
Wow. So, Anshul, according to you, how do you see arbitration in ADR evolving in India?
So, alternative dispute resolution is something which has really evolved after 2019 Amendment Act of the Arbitration Act. The introduction of Arbitration Council of India through the 2019 amendment has really streamlined appointment of arbitrators is concerned. The Prior to the 2019 amendment, the arbitration per se, it was done only by high courts and supreme courts. Now there is a designated arbitration institution which is approved by or credited by the ACI, which is the Arbitration Council of India. And under this institution, an arbitrators can be appointed, and these institutions per se can facilitate the entire arbitration proceedings. So because of the 2019 amendment, as far as arbitration is concerned, there is a huge scope to get the appointment done. And arbitration, I always prefer, because this is a more faster remedy to get, rather than sitting for a suit or for a notice of motion and then getting a relief before the court. Other than arbitration, the mediation, which is a alternative dispute resolution mechanism, has also been supported. And now there is a statute, the Mediation Act of 2023, which again was a requirement for a really long time and has culminated into a statute only in 2023. It also provides for an alternative dispute resolution available, which is available now, available to the parties. Mediation and arbitration, the difference is that arbitration, an arbitrator will have to sit and adjudicate upon the issues and then pass a award. Whereas in mediation, the parties will but the parties, there is no adjudication per se, there is only settlement. The mediator has to help the parties to bridge their gap and come down to a solution. And then that solution which has been brought down is written down in a mediation agreement, and that mediation agreement has a statutory force. And setting aside of a mediation is only, there are only few grounds that there was some fraud, coercion, or misrepresentation by any of the parties in getting that agreement. So as an effective remedy, mediation is also helpful, especially after the 2023 act. And of course, uh, as we practically see it, arbitration is helpful, but the interference of court is now reduced. The scope of Section 34 of the Arbitration Act and the scope of the appellate court under Section 37 is also reduced after the 2015 and 19 amendment. This reduces the interference of court which was there prior to the 15 and 19 amendment. So obviously, the time which goes in the court proceedings, as even after the award under Section 34 and 37, the challenges which lie, even considering that time, the resultant decree or the award which is there, which a litigant gets, is much faster than in a regular civil suit.
Wow. So, Anshul, you have grown from an intern to a partner. How has the journey shaped your approach to leadership?
To be honest, I never saw that coming, that I would, be given the designation of a partner, because it's a boutique firm. We handle all kinds of cases pertaining to commercial and civil litigation. The major practice is pertaining to recoveries by banks and before the DRT. The real estate department, the real estate suits which we deal are also with respect to contracts of development agreement. There are certain matters which are pertaining to engineering contracts. So as an intern, when I started, these areas really attracted me because after passing out from law college, it was from getting from books to the courts, and that really gave me a boost to, practice litigation without any hesitation. So as an intern, when I was working, the responsibilities were very limited. Slowly, when I joined as an associate back with the firm, the I remember my day one, I was straight away given a file and to we appeared in the High Court, and I had really two couple of hours, and I remember that appearance was before Justice Gadkari at that point of time. So somehow I managed to get a relief and a date which was required for that day. And slowly and gradually, I got into habit of reading matters prior to the listing date, making a brief list of dates and events. Research is something which really helped me because once I learned that how a judgment or a reference to a judgment assists the judge, it became a habit for me to, you know, whether I know the facts or not, the fulcrum of the case, I should know that what is the point where the judge will be stuck. And that point, if you address through a precedent, that will help you in getting an ad interim relief or whatever relief your client is seeking, or to object to the other side's relief. So that research is something which I really look forward to, and which I can say over the years, I have gained some kind of expertise in having this research propositions where I have my entire set of folders, where by criteria wise, I've placed my judgments. And this habit of getting into matters, arguing matters, is somewhere where my seniors realize that, okay, it's time for, to elevate Anshul, to give him more responsibilities as a partner. And since I've been a partner, the responsibilities which I've taken include hiring of new associates, hiring of interns, coordinating with your clients, at the same time handling matters, handling pressure situations with the client. Sometimes you get an order, sometimes you don't get an order. When you don't get an order, there's a reaction which comes from the client. So you have to handle all those things. So when I was intern, I never thought that I would be doing this in a span of 5 years. So that has really changed, and that has really helped me boost my confidence, helped me, you know, gain a clearer perspective and how I want to represent myself in future.
Wow. So, my last question for our professional journey round: what advice would you give to young lawyer to stand out in the courtroom and in client negotiations?
Correct. So I think for fresh person, because I do a lot of hiring for a firm also, one thing which I notice is that the whether it is the academics or whether it is the personal skills of those candidates, it actually boils down to what you would think. And if I have to convey this message to the viewers and new lawyers, young lawyers who are watching this, I would tell them one message which I followed in my journey, that once you step out of your law school, you are a lawyer. You will be pursued, you will be looked as an advocate. So you should be responsible, and you should have that confidence. If someone, your friend, your family member, or someone who is passing by, if he asks you some question, you should be in a position to answer it. And that position you will get only by thorough reading. Because today I observe that a lot of lawyers, they fail to read even the law or the new judgments or whatever updates which are there. You have to keep yourself updated. You have to read, because our profession includes reading. If you fail to read, you will fail to consult. So that
Right.
was one kind of a fear which I had in my mind, that what if someone pops a question to me and I'm not able to answer? That will be a question on my credibility. So I don't want to be in that position. So once you think from that point of view, you will obviously take all kind of efforts to negate those possibilities and give a better answer. And I had read somewhere in my colleges that a lawyer should know something about everything and everything about something. So that fundamental has stuck with me, and that is what I use every day. And that is how I try to upgrade myself on a daily basis.
Wow. So let's go to the next round and understand Anshul as a person. Tell us about your family and your formative years.
So I come from a very close-knit family, and since my childhood, they have, tried to give me a lot of cultural teaching, tradition-wise, your religion-wise, and it's a very close family which we have. And I've been brought up in a joint family, so I had my real uncles staying with me. So it was a lot of play, fun, emotions, which helped in nurturing me, and which in a way I was an elder cousin between my group of cousins. So that is somewhere that leadership skill also built in me.
Wow. So, what's your go-to way to de-stress after a long day in core, Anshu?
So since my college days, I've been working out and I like to lift weights, especially after getting into the litigation field. You get tired from the entire day of running up between courts and office and back to court. Despite that, I feel that after going home, once you hit the gym, you lift some weights, do a little workout, 45, 50 minutes, doesn't matter. But that is something which, really boosts me and gives me more energy to spend whatever is left of the day. So that is how I, really lose out on my, entire day of litigation which I have.
Wow. So, what's one childhood memory that still makes you smile?
I think celebrating festivals was a very big thing in our family. Right now, we are also celebrating Ganesh Chaturthi. As we speak, I have a Ganesh Chaturthi festival going on in my house with the guests coming in and everything. So that was something where we loved, because all my family members would come and stay together. There were sweets, there were other delicacies which we used to have on a daily basis. So that is one memory which I still cherish. And during these 5 7 days, I again go back to my childhood and do all sort of fun which we used to do at that point of time, removing
Wow.
my advocate hat aside.
Wow. So, what that one hobby you wish you had more time for?
I am a vivid trekker, so I have done a few treks, the few Himalayan treks, and the only time which I get to do those treks is between the court vacations. So I really hope that I would be staying near to mountains so that on a weekend I would just run away for a trek. So that is one hobby which I really love and which I really look forward to maintaining in my future.
Wow. So, which is that trick you like to, if you get time, and do in this year?
There is this Gomukh Tapovan trek, which is said to be the source of River Ganga. So this trek
Mhm.
I've been trying to do for last 2 years, but for whatever reason, I've not got a chance to do so. But I hope this year I get a chance. I've done three treks. One was the Brahmatal trek, which was at altitude of 12,000 feet. There was the second trek, which was a really difficult one, was the Pinbaba Pass. That was again in Himachal, and that was a trek of 16,000 altitude. And the last trek which I did last year was the Buran Ghati Pass trek. That trek was really beautiful. It's so mesmerizing that at every other day you kind get to see a different view. There are snow-capped mountains, there is valley, there is lush green lands. So these three treks I have a core memory of. And now the next trek which I look is the Gomukh Tapovan trek.
Wow. So, which is that book, movie, or show which just inspired you the most?
The book, I would say that in my law college years, I would used to read a lot of books by John Grisham. That these books were on law fiction. So that reading, I started reading with The Litigator. Then it was the End
Mm.
Kill and all these kinds of books. Somewhere it gave me a, you can say, a close to reality kind of a feel while reading those books. And those books really help to, of course those books are based from US point of view, but it really helps you to get into law, capture some words, some interesting phrases and so on.
Wow. So, if your friends had to describe you in three words, what would it be?
They would say he's too hyperactive, he's too caring, and kind of out to go guy with.
Wow, beautiful. Okay. Since this is a special episode of Ganesh Chaturthi, what message would you like to give to our viewers out there?
For Ganesh Chaturthi, I would say that uh, celebrate this festival safely, take care of the environment, and make sure that the celebration which you do is for the Lord Ganesha and it is not to disrupt the harmony of others. So just be careful. I practice that same thing. I think we all should practice that.
Wow, beautiful. So my last one is a googly one from your viewpoint. Describe Anshul in one line.
uh, Anshul in one line. Let me just have a think over it. And say Anshul is a go-getter person.
Wow, beautiful. I'm very curious since you're a Mumbaikar. What are your favorite spots to visit and to have food?
Food, I really love the food which is there at Badi Mia's. I really enjoy food which is at the Ayub. So I really like this street side kind of food rather than a seven-course meal or some fancy cuisine restaurant. So these are two places are like my go-to places for having whatever a roll or a seek paratha or a kebab or something.
Wow, wow. Chalo, let's put in the hot seat, the rapid fire round. Arbitration or litigation?
Litigation,
Early mornings or late nights?
early mornings.
Favorite legal maxim?
Favorite legal maxim would be amicus curiae, which is a friend of a court. Sometime I hope that I would get to be an amicus curiae for any of our high court
Wow,
judges.
wow. One word that describes your journey.
Challenging,
Your favorite color.
blue.
Best piece of advice received.
Never to trust one very soon.
Your go-to comfort food.
I think that would be uh, chicken and roti.
Favorite Maharashtrian cuisine.
It's varan bhat, which is basically a simple dal rice.
Wow. Okay. Tea or coffee to recharge.
Tea.
Let's restore. You did well.
Thank you.
And here's a book which will be autographed and sent to you. So,
Oh, lovely.
as we wrap up this conversation with Anshul on this Ganesh Chaturthi special episode, one thing becomes clear: success in law isn't just about winning cases, it's about resilience, adaptability, and leading with purpose. From his early days at GLC to his expertise in dispute resolution, Ansul's journey reflects how young lawyers can blend tradition with innovation to thrive in today's legal landscape. His story reminds us that persistence, curiosity, and balance are just as important as legal acumen in shaping a career that inspires. So until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep turning challenges into opportunities. So subscribe to the Coffee Corner Show where there are 500 plus speakers sharing their professional, personal journey insights and implement them in your lives. And we meet with another coffee speaker tomorrow. Continue a conversation or a cup of coffee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Irani.